Hello everyone, today is 6th of September, now it's about 1 o'clock. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my relatively late first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. An update is late because unfortunately, as our community on Patreon and Boosty knows, I spoke about it on behind the scenes videos. This move to Moscow is not going as smoothly as we were hoping, and there are constant issues that we have to deal with, including with the educational system or school system of Moscow, and we are unable to find a school for our younger daughter since August, by the way. Not for a day or two, but entire months now. Like since early August, we are trying to find a school and are failing. In that, one school initially accepted us, then changed its decision. A second school refused to accept us, and I'm talking about schools in a district here. And now we are waiting for a third school, but probably we have to wait until Monday or Tuesday, because we applied day before yesterday for that school, and there was no answer on the same day, no answer yesterday, and today probably there will be no answer, because today in Russia is regional elections, and schools are transformed basically to host these electoral commissions, or where people are going to vote basically. And tomorrow and day after is weekends, right? So maybe Monday this third school will give us an answer, and hopefully answer will be good and they will accept us in the school. Otherwise, seems like we don't have an option but to apply for family education, and then every 5 days apply for one of their schools in the district, and hope that one day in a month, 2 months time, they will accept us. And I say 5 days because each school, by the way, has up to 5 days to give you answer, and before you will receive answer from one school, you cannot apply for another. And everything done online, you don't even communicate with the real people in real life. Everything done by online, which is clearly not working properly. I mean, if it was up to me, I mean, our experience here in Moscow is so bad, so unpleasant, that if it was up to me, I would make sure that Mayor of Moscow and the entire leadership of Department of Education will spend the rest of their lives in Siberia, warming up their air. Because we lived in North Ossetia, Alania, never experienced anything like that. We lived in Moscow region, never had any issues. And it's already months now, and we cannot find a school in Moscow. And those officials, by the way, those bureaucrats will always try to justify themselves. They will always try to prove you wrong. They never take responsibility, which is unfortunate, but this is life, by the way. This information may be helpful to members of our community who has some plans to move to Russia, especially in Moscow. Yes, if you have young kids of school age, you may experience some issues finding a school for your kids, as we do right now. But anyways, we will hopefully deal with this stuff. After all, we will wait. We have to wait now before this third school give us our answer. And if answer is negative, if they will also refuse to accept us, then family education is our only option we have, as far as I understand, because there is 1,000 schools in Moscow, and if every school takes a couple of days, up to 5 days, to give you answer, and if those answers are negative, then a month or 2 or 3 months, entire year may pass by, and you will still be out of school. So we will apply for family education probably, and then let's see how it goes, which is, I mean, just forceful decision, because of course kids have to socialize, and that's why it is important to, you know, kids to go to school. I'm not saying that family education is bad or something, but I think for socialization it is better for kids to go to school and communicate with their fellow students, you know. But yes, I mean, as you can see, dear friends, as I said, this move to Moscow is not going as smoothly as I was hoping for, and therefore today's update is late. Yesterday I was unable to make second update. There's mix up in the schedule of programs, and this will continue this way until we will resolve these issues that we are facing, and then I will hopefully I'll be able to maintain consistency in my work. Anyways, let's talk about news now, and first of all, let's go through some battle maps. And we have update, by the way, about Donetsk sector of the front line. According to reports that we are receiving, after Russian troops basically established control not just over the Prichistovka on the western side of Avdiivka, sorry, Ugledar, by the way, but also Zolotaya Niva settlement is under Russian control. Many sources report about it. Probably in upcoming days, Defense Ministry will also confirm this information. When it comes to Pokrovsk sector of the front, reports are coming in that Kyiv regime forces conducted some local-scale offensives or counteroffensives and re-established control over the southern areas in Selidovo city. Although not all Russian sources are on the same page, and some sources continue to claim that Russian troops are controlling about 40% of this town. Obviously, I'm not there, and I cannot confirm or deny any of this news. Also, by the way, Russian troops are increasing pressure on Kyiv regime formations in Chisov Yar direction. For example, in Klishevka area, according to some reports, Russian forces had a breakthrough and forced Kyiv regime forces to abandon their positions and move towards right side of the Seversky Donetsk Donbass channel. And I guess if Russian armed forces continue pressurizing Kyiv regime's formations in this area, in a relatively short time, very same will happen in Avdiivka area. And when it comes to Chisov Yar itself, reports are coming in about Russian progress in Kalinina settlement, on the western part of Kalinina settlement, which is important, obviously, because if this area is under Russian control now, of course, Russian troops will be able to conduct offensive operations towards Chisov Yar from three directions: from south, from east, and from the north. And reports are coming in also about significant activization of the Russian armed forces in Kupiansk direction. Artillery preparations are taking place. And rumors are that before end of September, possibly Russian troops will start offensive operations in direction of Kupiansk itself. Difficult to say, only time will tell. In general, by the way, I get feeling that it's a kind of operational pause on the battlefields right now, maybe with the exception of Donetsk sector and Kupiansk direction. No crucial changes on northern parts of Kharkiv region, where this buffer zone being created by Russian troops in Liptsy-Volchansk direction. And when it comes to Kursk salient, Russian troops continue clearing operation despite their attempts of the Kiev regime forces to further advance. They are unable to do so, and I mean, if anybody had any doubts that this Kursk salient is a trap for Kiev regime, then I guess at this point everyone should be convinced that yes, this is a trap, and all this Kursk offensive operation was a total failure on part of Kiev regime. In general, by the way, as I said, it seems like some sort of operational pause is established on the front line, and I guess it will stay this way at least a couple of days. And then once regrouping and reinforcements will arrive on both sides, we will see some activization, some further activization. Initiative in any ways in Russian hands, and I don't expect the Kiev regime to be able to pull off any successful operation in any directions. That's been said, let's go through some other news now, and RIA Novosti is reporting that, as I already mentioned, it is election day today. Local elections will take place from 6th to 8th of September, and in some regions, governors being elected, in some regions, local parliaments, local MPs, city administrations, and so on. Obviously, law enforcement agencies are on high alert to make sure that this election process is going smoothly. No reports for now about any emergencies in any region, and I believe in 41 regions of Russia these local elections will take place. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Kiev regime is deploying about 500 foreign mercenaries or towards Kursk direction, and not just foreign mercenaries, but Kiev regime is trying to, I mean, the Kiev regime is in a difficult situation, isn't it? In one hand, they are pulling out some troops from Kursk salient area, from Sumy region, towards Pokrovsk direction and South Donetsk direction. In other hand, they are sending in to Kursk salient some other forces, at least to maintain current positions, which is not going to happen, obviously, and Russian armed forces in relatively short time will finish clearing operation in that areas. But, well, reports are coming in that 500 foreign mercenaries or NATO troops, I will say, from foreign legion have been transferred towards Kiev regime from Kharkov area. And exactly about Kharkov area, we have also a report that Russian Air Force, aerospace forces conducted strike on points of concentration of these foreign mercenaries. I guess this process of redeployment of these mercenaries were noticed by Russian intelligence, and airstrike was called in, and after arrivals of pub bombs, those mercenaries suffered some significant casualties, although of course no precise information about number of casualties among personnel of this foreign legion. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, according to some Ukrainian officers, and also MPs, by the way, Ukraine's defense ministry has run out of money to pay to its military in September, which is interesting because I guess this burden will eventually go to Western taxpayers, isn't it? Because it is Western states that are basically paying wages in Ukraine, not just to so-called militaries of the Kiev regime, but also to everybody that is receiving wages from the state, right? Even pensioners in Ukraine being paid by Western taxpayers and all staff of budget organizations. Kiev itself unable to sustain itself even for a couple of months. It is what it is. And I have no issues if Western ruling elites will pay for Ukrainian pensioners, but I mean, when it comes to paying these terrorists and mass murderers of the Kiev regime, if I was citizen of Western states, I would question that for sure. Why should my taxes go for wages of Ukrainian mercenaries or mass murderers or Nazis or Zelensky and his criminal associates or anybody basically in Ukraine, really? Pensioners, okay, you know, I'm kind and okay, I can get that if we will support elderly, it's okay, but rest? What the hell, man? But this is me, by the way. Majority of the citizens in European states, they have no care, seems like, how poorly their taxes being managed by their own governments. So it is what it is. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, Ukrainians, by the way, have found their new way to run from the country, quasi-state, and because Kiev regime is blocking and putting up obstacles for citizens of Ukraine to run to Hungary or to Moldova or to Romania. We have now cases when citizens of Ukraine are running to Belarus, and 5 of those citizens of Ukraine were detained by Kiev regime's forces, and those people were very lucky because they were walking on a minefield, because borderline areas between Kiev regime and Belarus are mined, and those 5 people were very lucky that they didn't blow up themselves on one of those mines. But it is interesting. People are so desperate that they are willing to walk on mines. If they had even slight chance to escape from Kiev controlled territory. Interesting. And when it comes to Belarus, by the way, TASS News Agency and many other media outlets reported that Belarusian air defense system shut down Ukrainian drone yesterday, and videos are circulating on internet when this flying object on fire is falling down, and it failed on warehouse, I believe, which caught fire after that. And unfortunately, this is not the first and not the last time when Kiev regime's drones are crossing Belarusian airspace. And well, I wonder how long Minsk will tolerate such activity of the Kiev. We all know that Belarus is deploying its armed forces towards the border, and who knows, by the way, who knows, maybe one day Lukashenko, president of Belarus, will say enough is enough and let's deal with these Nazis and the fascists, and maybe he will give order to Belarusian troops to enter this conflict and participate in denazification and demilitarization of the Kiev regime and the so-called Ukraine. And also interesting news that in very same Belarus, Japanese spy was arrested, by the way. And during the interrogation, this Japanese spy looks like was very happy to share whatever he could share. And he said that information that he was gathering in Belarus could be successfully used by Kiev regime. And when I say Kiev regime, I mean NATO, to conduct missile strikes on Belarus. And because topic of missile strikes was mentioned, I guess this topic is discussed by Kiev regime and its Western backers. So probably there is some plans somewhere in Washington and London, Brussels, where headquarters of NATO is, this terrorist organization. Probably there are some plans there to conduct strikes on Belarus also, and Belarusian authorities should be ready, by the way. They should be ready. Last news agency is reporting that Pentagon announced a new military aid package for Kiev regime for $250 million. Okay, some HIMARS missiles, some artillery shells, and some other ammunition will be transferred to Kiev regime, or probably already being transferred to Kiev regime. Well, minus 250 million from pockets of the US citizens, which is peanuts, by the way, if you take in account how much money already been stolen by Washington's administration from their US citizens. Up to 200 billion at this point, right? So 250 million compared to 200 billion, it's like, nothing. That's how strange these times are, by the way, when hundreds of millions no longer being seen as something extraordinary. So much money being spent by Western ruling class, by Washington and other NATO member states to prolong this proxy war against Russia. Can you imagine how much good could be done with this money in US itself to further improve life of their citizens, or in UK or in Germany or France? And all these economies, by the way, are not in the best shape, right? And very many people are struggling in these countries, and middle class is shrinking. Take any Western country and check statistics, you will see middle class is shrinking. And instead of supporting their own economies, their own people, these so-called elites in the West are laundering through Ukraine hundreds of billions of taxpayers' money, right? And enriching themselves and their and military-industrial complex of the West. Anyways, let's continue. UK is also, by the way, planning to transfer to Kiev regime military aid, additional military aid package, 462 million pounds, which is 213 million US dollars. And well, in this aid package, military aid package, UK is willing to transfer some 650 lighter multi-purpose missiles, LMMs, to Kiev regime, and reports are that these missiles will be used for air defense purposes. Let's see. And RT is also reporting that Ukraine finally has new foreign minister. So Ukraine's parliament approves new foreign minister. Dear friends, notebook is getting overheated. Its coolers are running on maximum. I don't know if you can hear noise of that. Hopefully not. But if you do, then sorry for that. But I don't know what to do with this. This notebook is on its last, breath, I guess. But hopefully it will work for a little while before I be able to buy another one. But anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that yes, Ukrainian parliament approves a new foreign minister. So Ukraine rather has agreed to replace former foreign minister Dmitry Kuleba with his deputy Andrei Sibiga, aimed a major cabinet reshuffle. Kuleba handed in his resignation earlier this week. More than half of the government's senior members are expected to be replaced during this reshuffle process. I don't think these changes will make a situation for the Kyiv regime any easier or any better. But I guess people, Western ruling elites, were pissed or sick and tired of some of these officials, and they demanded these changes to take place, because it's of course up to Washington and London who will take what position in the Kyiv regime. Zelensky decides nothing, right? He is just playing his role as a sort of president of Ukraine. That's it. RT is reporting that Austria is ready to host Russia-Ukraine talks. So Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer has offered Vienna as a venue for peace talks between Moscow and Kiev. Speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Russian President Vladimir Putin said yesterday or day before Moscow remained open to negotiations and named several countries that could serve as mediators. We talk not of the Russian president's statements regarding his openness for the peace talks with Ukraine. Any negotiations must take place without preconditions and at the E level. Nehammer said on Thursday, Austria will be ready to support a just and serve as a venue for negotiations as the set of the OSCE, the Chancellor added, referring to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. And of course, I don't know what Putin meant by saying that Moscow is open for negotiations. My interpretation is that Moscow is open for Kiev regimes and Western ruling classes unconditional surrender and capitulation, because little earlier quite a number of high-ranking Russian officials stated that only topic can be discussed with the Kiev regime is capitulation. So I guess that's exactly what Russian president meant, that yes, Moscow is open for talks, let's talk, we will accept your capitulation. That's it. But in any ways, by the way, I don't think Austria can be seen by Moscow as a venue for any negotiations, because Austria is not neutral in reality, only pretends to be. And therefore, it does not make any sense for, from Russian point of view, as far as I understand it, to hold any talks on Austrian soil in Vienna or any other town there. No, Austria is an active member of the anti-Russian coalition, like Switzerland is, and therefore these countries, like any other hostile country, cannot be seen by Moscow as a venue for peace talks, obviously. RIA Novosti is reporting that Secretary General of NATO Jens Stoltenberg stated that highlighted basically necessity of new talks about disarmament, and according to Stoltenberg, in these talks China should also participate. First of all, we are talking about nuclear disarmament, and I wonder to whom Stoltenberg and people like him are making these kind of statements. I mean, to whom? Because Moscow don't care what Stoltenberg or Western ruling class has to say, and Moscow cannot ever trust Western ruling class to begin with, right? And by watching how NATO is behaving, or collective West behaves in regards to Russia, what do you think? How China? What kind of attitude gonna China have in regard to these so-called initiatives of the collective West on disarmament? They're not gonna take it seriously, isn't it? And no one else will. No one. So I don't know what is wrong with these individuals, man, in so-called elites of the West, but they truly are make from themselves, truly did make from themselves a laughing stock. And at this point, it is really difficult to take anything that they say as on face value, and take anything they say seriously. It's just, it is what it is, man. No one can respect those people, by the way, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, these are, according to Ukraine's SMBO, which is kind of security council, in the winter, in the winter time, Ukraine may experience, Ukrainian cities and their towns, villages may experience 20-hour blackouts in a day, every single day. So electricity and electricity may be available only for 4 hours in some cases, or in many cases even, which is well, which is definitely should be terrifying for citizens of this failed state to hear about, because Ukraine is not in Caribbean, by the way. Winters in Ukraine are very severe. Maybe not necessarily in the southern side, but in central and northern areas for sure. And electricity in many cases mean warm, and well, of course, 4 hours a day, it's just too little, too little really. And therefore, if situation with the energo system of Kyiv regime will further deteriorates, I guess we might see new waves of refugees from Kyiv controlled territories towards Europe. So European states should get ready to receive additional several millions of Ukrainian citizens. Boosty is Boosty, by the way. Before I continue, dear friends, let me notice that this small media project of mine with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram is completely subscriber funded. And if you like my work, if you like my channels, I will be immensely grateful if you'll also consider to support my work with donations through PayPal or Boosty platform. This is the Boosty platform, by the way, on which you can subscribe to my page and have access to some bonus videos, or you can use this platform to donate also. Not many people are familiar with Boosty, but PayPal is well known to everybody, of course. And you can also subscribe to my Patreon page, by the way, which is much more developed than page on Boosty. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And I really hope before end of this year, our community on Patreon will reach 200, because in that case, we will finally manage to pass this point of constant fight for survival. 200 plus subscribers on Patreon will put us in that more safer place, I guess. And subscription, by the way, on Patreon starts from $5, and it's up to you. Then you can choose $5 or you can increase. There are options there, so it's all up to you. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And as I already said, by the way, on my Boosty and Patreon pages, there are plenty of bonus videos, extra contents, and once I will resolve some issues that are, or all the issues that we are facing right now in real life, of course I will be more focused on to create more extra content for Patreon and Boosty, as my thank to all the members of community that are supporting. And of course, by the way, many thanks to everybody who supported my work and this project and who continues to support. Truly grateful for support and this unique opportunity to work in this field of news and political commentary. That's been said, let's continue with some more news. And RT is reporting that Trump reacts to Putin's rooting for Kamala Harris. Okay, that's a funny news here. So US Republican candidate, presidential nominee, basically, Donald Trump, said on Thursday that he does not know how to feel about Russia's President Vladimir Putin, stating a preference for his Democratic rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, in the upcoming presidential elections. The Russian leader said earlier in the day at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok that Moscow would rather see Harris win the US presidential election in November. Putin told their audience that he admired their Democratic Party candidates' infectious laugh and that he respected current President Joe Biden's choice to endorse her as his successor. And then, quote, by the way, President Putin, endorsed Kamala, and I didn't know if I was supposed to call him up and say thank you very much, I don't know exactly what to say about it. I don't know if I am insulted or he did me a favor. Trump claimed during an event at the Economic Club in New York. And dear friends, let me tell you what had happened. Putin was ironic, by the way. This is the episode on in Vladivostok, on the sidelines of the Eastern Economical Forum, when Putin commented on Russia's preference in regards to presidential elections in US, and he was sarcastic, by the way. That was a humor when he said that well, we prefer Kamala Harris because she has this laugh, interesting laugh. It was a humor, by the way. It was, he was sarcastic, and everyone should understood that. But what he says seriously is that Russia will respect any choice that US citizens will make. That's when he was serious. Because, yes, Russia will respect whatever decision will be made by US citizens. But me personally, I have a question. Do US citizens realize that they don't really have a choice? Only illusion of the choice. Because behind both parties are same groups of interests, right? Usually, and mainly, are same groups of interests. So what kind of choice is that? When no matter for whom you will vote and who will take office in White House, true decision makers will be the ones that were financing both these candidates. What kind of choice is that? It's not choice, it's just illusion of one, right? But anyways, let's continue. And very disturbing news, by the way, from US, that former advisor to Trump, I believe, and expert, I believe founder of the think tank, the National Interest, Dmitry Simes, and his wife are under risk now to be sentenced in US for 60 years in jail, because US, this criminal regime of Biden, is accusing him of breaking some sanctions against Russia's first channel, by the way, Channel 1. So Simes was cooperating with the Russian TV, right? And for this, US, this Biden's terrorist regime wants to prosecute him. And I say Biden's terrorist regime because it is terrorist regime, right? We all know what happened to Nord Stream pipelines. And that's enough reason to claim that Biden's administration is a terrorist regime. Like it or not, but it is factual. So these terrorists in charge of US want to prosecute everybody now that they don't like. They are after everyone, including Dmitry Simes. And it's really sad, man. What the hell is going on with US, by the way? They are now charging people or pursuing people just because they are expressing their opinions on, not even in US, for God's sake, in Russia, on Russian TV. And this Channel 1, by the way, it's not English language channel. They cannot even say that this channel was pushing some propaganda narratives into US, because this is Russian language channel, right? And Simes was working, cooperating with that channel. And what? So I don't know, man. US is in a very dark place, by the way. And I mean, something has to be done there. If nothing changes, well, then I don't even know how US is gonna survive, because destructive forces are clearly tearing apart this country from within. But first of all, these terrorists and mass murderers that are in charge of US. It is what it is, man. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that US is sanctioning now Indian companies, also because of their participation in Arctic SPG or Arctic LNG 2 gas project of Russia. Okay, by the way, is if US has not enough enemies worldwide, by the way, they're gonna jeopardize now energy security of India, and they're gonna make from India enemy, right? Telling you, man, something has to be done with in US to remove these crazies from their position of power, and some normal people have to be promoted. Otherwise, I don't know. US may not just destroy itself, but also rest of the world, man, because it's just level of deterioration of the statehood of US is on unimaginable scale. And political class, deterioration of the political class in US is on unimaginable level. But I have never seen this ever, by the way, in my life. And I lived little bit. I'm 47, so I know probably I already lived more than half of my life, right? Anyways, let's continue. Kommersant newspaper is reporting that 8 countries from OPEC Plus, including Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia and Russia, agreed to postpone increase in oil production for another 2 months. Earlier, there was agreements that OPEC Plus countries, 8 countries, will decrease production of oil for a certain period of time. That period is about to expire, and decision was made to prolong this decision for another 2 months, which is understandable because oil prices are on okay level, some $75-80 around that for a barrel. In terms of Brent, by the way, for example, from which price for Russian Urals usually are made. But lately oil prices were falling, and if we will see now increasing production of oil, of course it will push additional pressure on the prices, and oil will become even more cheaper, which is not in our interests of these oil producer nations, right? So it doesn't make all the sense to continue to prolong basically previous decision about decrease of production of their oil, and we are talking about more than 2 million barrels a day, by the way, so it's significant. Skyliad newspaper is reporting that Putin on sidelines of Eastern Economical Forum spoke about many topics, by the way, obviously, but at one point he spoke about Germany's very strange position when Scholz's government is happy to receive Russian gas from Ukraine. Scholz's government is happy to receive Russian gas from Turkstream, basically, but the very same Scholz's government is refusing to receive gas from undamaged Nord Stream pipeline. There is one pipeline, by the way, that's still operational there, and for whatever reason Scholz's government is refusing to receive gas through that pipeline, which is crazy. I mean, isn't it? It's truly something extraordinary. I don't know if German people know about it, but yes, I mean, Scholz's government is clearly sabotaging Germany's economy from within, right? But and then the Russian president says this is on the edge of schizophrenia. It's psycho stuff what is happening with the German leadership, and he is correct, by the way. German leaders clearly are so-called leaders, by the way. They are not really leaders of the German people. They are representatives of the occupying regime, puppets of the Washington and London. That's what they are, really. Scholz, Merz, Bolz, rest of the garbage, right? And Putin is correct. They are schizophrenics, by the way. They are psychos, for sure. Psycho puppets. RIA Novosti is reporting that, Putin also spoke about Russian GDP, and he said that in 2024, Russian GDP will grow at least on the same level than in 2023, or maybe a little bit more. And in 2023, Russian GDP growth was 3.6%, I believe. And well, right now, latest report I see was that in the first 6 months of this year, Russian GDP growth was about like 4 or 5%, which is big, by the way, more than 4%, I believe. And even though there may be some correction, overall, on year terms, I think Russian GDP will grow at least 4.3, 4.5% in 2024. So Putin is absolutely correct. He is a little bit conservative, I think, in his estimation, but I can allow myself to be more optimistic. And I will say that Russian economy most likely will grow 4 to 4.5% this year in 2024 at least. Maybe more. Let's see. And I will end this update, by the way, if I may, on this news that according to Russian Ministry of Finances, Russian deficit of budget has decreased to the level of 0.2% of the GDP, which is quite okay number, isn't it? Russia definitely can live with a 0.2% deficit, probably lowest deficit among any industrial country, any developed country, I guess, and definitely lower than any country in G7, right? So, well, quite good numbers, by the way, quite good numbers. It is, of course, preferable budget to be proficital when budget is receiving more money than it spends. But just give it another couple of years and probably we will see Russian budget being proficital again. And this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update interesting and informative. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything or any topic. This is the only way we can at least try and influence algorithm to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in a real life or on internet, on any of the platforms that you are actively using. And finally, if you like my work, if you think my channels deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support her. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and wonderful upcoming weekend. Take care.